Math.com.
On this homework assignment, we're doing a bit more computation and a little bit of estimation on the back page. These 6 problems are 6 different types of computation exercises. You saw the other 6 types on the first homework assignment. I just want to remind you that when you're doing these problems, if you run into any trouble, you learned on the last video how to use the computation resource. So for example, if you were doing problem number 2 and completing this table, you have this number in standard form, 10 and 9/10. In this row, you express that number in fraction form and as a percent. And since this is more than one whole, the fraction could be expressed as a simplified mixed number, or an improper fraction in simplest form is also good for that. If you're having trouble with these kind of problems or any of these kind of problems, don't forget you can go to your favorite website, colbymath.com, go to the computation section, and then just match the icon. So if you're having trouble filling in this table, you go to this icon or click on the wording here, converting rational numbers. It will take you to this page, and there's an instructional video teaching you how to convert rational numbers. You can also practice with these resources. This is a game to practice converting rational numbers, and then you have different practice sheets with the keys for each type of conversion, from fraction to decimal, decimal to fraction, or percent to fraction. The problem I want to do with you is problem number 7 on the back. Problem 7 says, Devin wants to paint a room. He has determined that he will need 14 and 9/10 liters of paint. The paint he will buy comes in 2 and 7/500 liter containers. Estimate the number of containers of paint that Devin should buy. So if we want to know how many 2 and 7/500 liter containers it takes to cover 14 and 9/10 liters of area to paint, we're trying to figure out how many times 2 and 7/500 goes into 14 and 9/10. So that's a division problem. Our dividend is 14 and 9/10, and our divisor is 2 and 7/500. And if we wanted an exact answer, we could just do some long division here. But since we're estimating, we can use what we learned about compatible numbers. And the obvious compatible number to use with 14 and 9/10 is just round up to 15. That's a nice friendly number. But the tricky thing about word problems when you're estimating is you have to consider, how does that affect the problem? Did we just overestimate or underestimate? We raised the number from 14 and 9/10 to 15, so we overestimated by 1/10. So how does that affect the problem? The 14 and 9/10 represented the amount of paint we need. If you overestimate the amount of paint you need, then you're going to guarantee that you buy enough paint. So we'll have to consider not only the number we're rounding to, but how it affects the problem. So that's what I want you to think about during the pause. And when you round this divisor, it's a little bit tricky. So think about, when you round it, how does that affect the problem? Will that make you more or less likely to buy enough paint? So do that during the pause and then come back and see how you did.
Paused.
It seems like 3 is a good choice here because 15 and 3 are definitely compatible numbers. 15 divided by 3 is 5. The problem with choosing 3 in this case is we have overestimated the amount of paint in each can. And if you're not really going to get that much paint, then you might not buy enough paint. 5 cans of paint might not be enough. In fact, it won't be enough. We can see that by just checking really quickly. 2 and 7/500 liters multiplied by 5 cans will give us 13 and 7/500 liters of paint, which is more than a liter short of what we need. And that's why when you're estimating with a word problem, when there's context, you have to think about whether it's an overestimate or underestimate, and whether that's a good choice. So we've already agreed that the 15 is a good choice, that slight overestimate. But we're going to need to underestimate the amount of paint we get in each can. Now we wouldn't want to go all the way down to 2. First of all, it's not compatible with 15, but it's just quite a bit of an underestimate to knock 7/500 off of that That's almost a third of the amount of paint. But we can underestimate to 2.5. It might not seem like a friendly number, but when you think about it, there's two 2.5s in 5, and there's 3 5s in 15. And so 15 divided by 2.5 is 6. These actually are pretty friendly numbers. 2.5 doubled is 5, and 5 tripled is 15. And so if we triple this, we get 15. And so the 2.5 multiplied by, if we associate here, 2.5 times 6 is 15. And so those are actually friendly numbers. And 6 ends up being a much better estimate for the number of cans we would need. If you did this the traditional way with long division, 15 divided by 2.5, we don't want our divisor to be a decimal, we want it to be a whole number. So we multiply by 10 by moving the decimal one place to the right. The decimal in 15 is at the end, it's a whole number, so we move it one place to the right. We've multiplied both our divisor and our dividend by 10. That has the same effect as multiplying the whole expression by 10 tenths. And so that's the multiplicative identity. We'll talk about that a lot more later. But my decimal is here now in my dividend, so I line it up in my quotient. How many 25s are in 150? 4 25s makes 100, and 2 more for the 50, so 4 and 2 is 6. And so 6 containers of paint is a good estimate in this case. If we look at how many liters we get with 5 containers, we can just do another quick estimate, and if I add 2 7500ths to that without even doing the math, we can see that we're going to be well over 15, which is plenty of paint to paint the room. I want to point out one thing about the videos. It's already been well explained that they're part of your homework. So when I go around and check homework tomorrow, if people have 5 as their answer, I'll understand how they got it because it's what we just talked about, but I won't understand why they didn't use the video resource. So if you're using the video resource and you see a better answer and you gain a better understanding from the video, you should change your answer to 6. So that's one of the ways I sort of check to see who's using the videos. You should use the video on every homework assignment, every learning opportunity, I should say. All right, thanks for watching the video.